It had been a long week. I accepted a new job early last year that allowed me to work from home. Now that the lockdown restrictions have eased up, I'm having to commute 3 days out of the week. I do get to work from home the other 2 days, but it was still nice being able to work from home the entire week. I had just finished my shift, having stayed over much longer than expected, and wanted nothing more than to be home in bed. I was almost out the door when I was stopped by Dave. We all have a Dave in the workplace. You know, a nice enough guy who has zero self-awareness and doesn't know when to stop talking.
"Hey, Adam, buddy. You want to come over later?"
Dave asked. Maybe next time, Dave. It's been a long day and I'd really just like to go home.
"Okay, buddy. Next time, buddy,"
he replied. I walked out to the lot and opened the car door. Even this late in the day, I could feel the heat pouring out. I rolled the windows down in an attempt to push the hot air out faster since I had no air conditioning in my car. On the upside, my CD player still worked. The commute was just under an hour, so I started an audiobook and began my drive home. It wasn't 10 minutes later that I heard a loud clap of thunder. Oh, great, I thought. The rain started shortly after, and I quickly started rolling up the windows. My driver's side window locked and wouldn't roll up. Could this day get any worse? I thought. For the record, those were poor choice of words. Things can and usually do get worse after uttering them. I was distracted with the rain pouring through the jammed window and didn't see the piece of debris on the ground, which resulted in a very flat tire. I was towed to a nearby town called Sunset Falls. My car was taken into the shop for a new tire and to hopefully fix the window. It seemed like I was going to be there for a while, so I walked across the street for some dinner. The diner signs shine bright in the now dark and rainy night. The Sunset Falls Diner. It's our pleasure to serve you. I went inside the restaurant, and it was styled after a 1950s railcar-style diner, with a long counter, bar stools, and even jukebox playing 50s music. The bells on the door rattled as I walked in. "Number 77, order up!" The man behind the counter shouted energetically while ringing a bell. I sat down on the stool, and the waitress behind the counter approached me. "Can I start you off with some coffee?" she asked. Sure, coffee'd be great." "Sure thing, hon," she smiled back. The staff all seemed really friendly and was very unlike most diners I've been in. The last diner I was in, there was a cigarette butt in the coffee the grouchy waitress brought me, and the cook was arrested by the police for some reason before I got my food, which, in hindsight, is probably better that I never received it. "Here you go." The smiling waitress brought me my cup of coffee. I picked it up, and out of habit, I now check that nothing else is inside the cup. I then took a sip. "How is it? Need sugar or anything?" the smiling waitress asked. "This is the best coffee I've ever tasted." "Well, I'm glad you like it. I made it myself," she said proudly. "So, are you new to town or just passing through?" Stranded at the moment, actually. My car is across the street in the shop, and I'm guessing it's going to be there for a while." "Well, don't you worry. Mr. Frank across the street is the best mechanic in town, and not just because he's the only one in town," she joked. "He'll get you taken care of in no time. Now here's the menu, and you just let me know when you're ready to order." I opened up the menu and was surprised by the variety. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, served all day. The menu had everything. Pancakes, hot dogs, salads, burgers, fish, barbecue, steak, ribs, you name it, and it's probably on their menu. Wow, this is quite the menu for such a small diner, I thought. The smiling waitress returned. "Have you decided on anything yet?" Not yet. There are a lot of options here for such a small place. Where do you keep all that food?" "Well, the owners take serving their guests very seriously. Just take your time and let me know when you're ready." I continued looking over the menu and heard the bells on the door rattle as another patron walked in. He was tall, wearing a large coat, and was drying his bald head soaked from the rain. "Quite the storm out there," he told the waitress while sitting at the seat at the far end of the long counter. I continued looking over the menu, now on the third page. "You new in town, friend?" the patron at the end of the counter asked. My car's in the shop across the street, actually. Just waiting until it's ready." "Well, it's nice to see a new face in town," he added. "So, do you have a favorite meal here? There's a lot to choose from, and I'm usually indecisive, even with small menus." "Well, I'm quite fond of the special." The bells on the door rattled again as a blonde woman walked in with an umbrella. The woman sat down a couple seats away from the bald man at the end of the counter. I continued drinking my coffee as I looked over the menu. "I'll start out with the water, the soup, and tonight's special," the woman kindly said to the waitress. "You know, I think I'll have the soup as well," I told the waitress as she refilled my coffee. "The soup here is famously good, you know," the blonde woman said as she sat down next to me. "Tonight's broccoli and cheddar." "Sounds good." So, I was cut off as the diner's lights flickered and thunder roared outside. "Oh, I am so sorry," the blonde woman next to me said after she accidentally knocked over her water, spilling some on me. The lights flickered on and off again while the jukebox in the corner stuttered whatever song it was playing. "Here, I am so sorry again," she said, handing me some napkins. The thunder startled me. "Oh, no worries. I'm still not dry from the rain anyway." The bell rattled again as two men in raincoats quickly entered the diner. They took off their coats and sat down a few seats away from the blonde woman and I. How long till the storm passes, I thought. I reached into my pocket to check my phone, but I couldn't find it. "What's wrong?" the blonde woman asked. My phone. Here's your soup," the waitress said while setting two bowls in front of us. "Careful, it's still hot." "We'll both be having the special," I heard the two men with raincoats tell the waitress. "That'll be all. We don't want to spoil our appetite." "Seems like everyone's having the special tonight," I said while taking another drink of coffee. "It's a Sunset Falls favorite," the blonde woman replied. I stood up to use the restroom and began to feel a little dizzy. "Everything okay?" the blonde woman asked. Yeah, I'll be all right. I'll be right back." I splashed some water from the sink on my face as I began feeling drowsy. How can I be so tired after... How many cups of coffee did I have? The restroom lights flickered as thunder roared outside. The bells on the front door rattled. Then again and again, I opened the door to go back to my seat. 4 more people had entered the diner. I noticed them staring at me as I made my way back to my seat. I need to go check on my car," I said as I paid for my coffee and soup. The smiling waitress looked at me. Her smile faded into a sinister stare. I also realized that the jukebox had stopped playing music. "The owners take serving their guests very seriously," she said. "Tonight, we serve our weekly special." I felt dizzy again. I reached in my pocket for my phone, but forgot I didn't have it. "More coffee?" the waitress asked as she held out the coffee pot. What did you do?" I asked the waitress as I was losing my balance. "You have 4 missed calls," the blonde woman said while holding up what looked like my phone. I turned towards the door, but the tall, bald man at the end of the counter stood in my way. "Not so fast, friend." You don't look so well," one of the men in the raincoat snickered. "I want the special," I heard one of the patrons say. What is going on? What is the special?" The waitress walked towards me with her hands behind her back. "Didn't you see the sign outside? It's our pleasure to serve you." The lights went out and I felt hands grabbing me from every side. I don't know how, but I was able to get out the door and stumbled across the street. The rain was still pouring, and I thought the wind was going to blow me over. The Frank's Auto Repair sign illuminated the sidewalk with its glowing red light. I looked through the window and saw my car in the garage. It had been almost completely taken apart, car parts laid all over the garage floor. I could feel my eyes getting heavy as I leaned against the garage. I have to get out of here, I thought. I began stumbling towards the highway, and everything went dark. I woke up in a hospital bed. Someone had saw me lying on the side of the road and called for help. I tried explaining what happened, but the officer told me that there isn't any town nearby by the name of Sunset Falls. A friend picked me up from the hospital and took me home. I walked up to my doorstep and saw a package lying on the porch. I picked it up and went inside. I then set the package down on the table and opened it up. Inside was a phone. My phone. Underneath was a note. We hope to see you soon at the Sunset Falls Diner. And remember, it's our pleasure to serve you.